Okay guys, we are moving on to the second part of my Maomao garden party cosplay build. I've completed the Hanfu and now we're going to finish up the last of the pieces that we need for this. We're going to do the wig and the accessories. The wig is going to be a little bit interesting. I would rather preserve the integrity of this wig than creating another helmet wig like I did for my Kaiju 8. So this time we're going to try and like clip and ponytail this into place without doing substantial damage to the original wig. I kind of want to preserve it as generally whole so that if I ever decide to cosplay another green hair character, I have something I can work with. In the end, I did end up, like I had to cut the bangs. They were ridiculously long, which I mean, give and take, most characters are going to have bangs, so you're going to cut them anyway. And then I cut a little bit of length off of the bun area of the hair. And I did put like 2 really small areas of glue to hold down some of the hair that wrapped around her like twin buns. But aside from that, I really do feel like I was able to preserve the integrity of this wig, and I think it turned out really well. I tried some things that I haven't tried before when it came to styling wigs. I have done both kinds of wigs. I've done helmet wigs and I have done just styled wigs, but I haven't done any with like updos that were not a helmet. So it was an interesting experiment to see if I could achieve what I was looking for without having to cut off all the wefts and glue them back on. It is heavily coated in hairspray, and if I ever want to use it for a different character, I will have to really clean that out. But I did not damage it too horribly. It is reusable, so I am proud of myself for that. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to be working on is the accessories. Maomao wears earrings, necklace, hair pieces in this particular episode, and I will be making those. I have thrifted pretty much everything else in this costume. I did not thrift the wig for a couple of reasons. One, finding a long green wig is difficult to do. And the second one is that for sanitary reasons, I would rather just not share wigs with someone before. Like, I don't want to have to sanitize a wig. Like, that's a process I don't feel comfortable with, and like germs. Anyway, however, with the accessory pieces, I can use things that I have in my stash. I do enjoy making my own jewelry and wire wrapping and things like that, so I had a stash of beads and wire and like fittings for like earrings and fittings for like necklace closures that I could use to create these pieces. I did not have exactly the beads, like the bead shapes or colors that I needed, so I used what I had and approximated what she had in the anime. And I think they turned out pretty cute, and honestly, unless you are like going for canon and had a picture right in front of you, I don't think anybody would really be upset with how close I came on these accessories. So without further ado, we are going to get right into it.
So we're going to start with crimping. Most cosplayers crimp their wigs. I do prefer a crimped wig. It really does help with the tangling issues. I prefer to crimp my wig in a very particular way. I hold the hair out away from the head, so I don't go straight vertically up and down. I pull it out away from the head so that when you lay it back down, you don't get those uniform crimp marks. And when I am working on the hair, I take a smaller chunk of hair. I lift it out so it's pretty much horizontal, coming away from the head. And then as you can see here, I am crimping a whole bunch over and over again, all in one space, changing directions, side to side, up, down. And I'm not crimping all the way close tight. Like if you take the crimper and you close it all the way tight onto the hair, you're gonna get those very distinct zigzaggy patterns. And while those are useful in the hair, it can be hard to get rid of. So I tend to go lightly on the hair so that I don't get as much crimp lines on it. And then when I am done with all of the crimping, I pull it straight through, straight down, and kind of smooth out some of the more obvious crimp lines in the hairs. So Maomao in her garden party outfit has pigtails. And so I need to be able to split the hair on this head, on this wig, in a manner that you're not going to see the tracts of hair like parted into the, see down to the wig cap, right? So in order to do that, what you do is you create like a zigzag part on the wig by taking some from one side and pulling it over to the other, and some from the other side and pulling it back to the other side. By doing this, we're creating kind of a crosshatch, almost braided look, kind of zigzag part in the back of the wig. What this is doing is, by creating these diagonals, we are covering up the track lines of where the hair is sewn into the wig cap. This way, I don't have to glue my wefts on, I don't have to make a helmet wig, but I am also like not having a visible track line of hairs. So the next thing I need to do is create like 3 separate layers in each pigtail. There's 3 distinct layers to her hairstyle. She has the bun at the top, a kind of like swoopy middle section that goes up towards the bun, and then down at the bottom she has some like low ponytail, like pigtails that come up over the shoulder. And so I need to separate these so that once I have them pulled up into their respective like ponytail and styled situations, we're not going to see any like gapping inside of this wig. I actually had to redo this portion that you are watching here because once I was done with it, I didn't like it and I could see a little bit of gapping. So I needed to redo it so that I didn't see any hair gaps. But what we do is we start at the top by putting the bun in. And once you have the bun, you can actually take the lengths of the bun and use it into the lower swoopy part. Now I use zip ties to hold the hair together. It tends not to slide as much as a hair tie, and I can really like yank those pretty tight so that they stay in place. I also find that it kind of held the bun higher up. I take the hair back up around the base of the bun and use it as part of the middle section, which is kind of like the swoopy hair loopies, as one might say. My husband made fun of it. He called them Katara's hair loopies. They're not quite hair loopies, but it is kind of swooped up from the bottom into this bun section again. So we separate that, and then we take the middle section with the leftovers from the bun and swoop that up from the bottom. And once we have that all done, we can move on to the bangs. This wig had really long bangs. I got these wigs from Epic Cosplay, and they had really long bangs. So now that I have the bun situation, the middle situation, and the lower pigtails figured out, I can then move on to the front. So the first thing that we need to do when styling the bangs is obviously cut them to approximately the length that we're going to need them. I like to leave them a little bit long so that I can trim them as I go. I do have marks on my wig stand so that I know how long my facial features are in comparison to the hairstyle. And at first I just started taking the bangs and gluing them as wefts. And then I decided I was just going to cut the whole thing and just put it in a little ponytail. Once I have the bangs kind of the length that I want them to be, I'm going to tease them a little bit. I want them to have a little bit more of an anime kind of exaggerated bang style. So I decided to tease them up so that they look very distinct, very separate, and much more fluffy than you would see in real life. Once I've got it kind of combed down, after the teasing, you can see here how much fluffier it is than what it was before. Then I go ahead and I take my flat iron and I kind of create sections. A lot of animes have like very distinct like hair parts in the bangs. So I have like reference pictures down below me while I work so that I can kind of like steam and pin the bangs into the shape that they need to go in order to kind of follow those distinct like bang pattern lines. And we're going to kind of like create just like these little gaps and points with the hair as we go along. And then we will hold it in place with pins, hairspray, and then we will steam it so that it doesn't move. Like it will kind of create like a muscle memory for the plastic fibers of the hair so that they will not move from that position or they'll want to return to that position anytime that they're moved. Once the wig is done, I decided to move on to the accessories that she's wearing. Now, again, this is a thrifted project, so these are all beads and fittings that I kind of had just sitting around. They're not going to match exactly what she's wearing in the anime, but I'm going to go for kind of creating a similar shape and color arrangement to what she's wearing. So there are the earrings, and then I need to work on the large kind of necklace, like pendant piece. So here's the kind of pieces that I think will fit that pretty well, and then I'm going to use wire to hold it all together and kind of improvise the designs that I can kind of see in the images that I found. So after a little bit of experimenting, I created kind of a basic shape for this necklace pendant. I have like a loop in the middle, a little set-in bead piece, and then I made this little flower out of resin that, I mean, looks kind of like what she has in the picture. I did eventually decide I didn't like that, and I made like a bead flower to go on there later. But now I'm going to replicate this look on the other side, creating the loop, and the little bead setting that were on the opposite side, as well as hanging another charm to match the one that was on the left side to begin with. And here is that necklace pendant all completed. So now we have earrings and the necklace pendant, and you can see here the bead flower that I made in replace of that resin one. And then the last thing we need to make are little hair pieces. So they look kind of like flowers, but I don't have anything that looks like gold flowers. So I'm taking these kind of like fitting pieces, these cup-shaped fitting pieces, and putting another gold piece inside of the middle of them, and then just gluing them onto the hair clip that's going to go on the wig. And once I make, I think, 4 or so of these flowers, they all fit onto the clip there. The last thing that we need accessory-wise are the big, like, chunky beads that go around the lower pigtails. And I did not have anything available in my stash that would work with that, so I'm making some resin beads. My UV resin doesn't take color very well, so I did have to make them clear and then paint on the color later. But as you can see here, once I take out the straws that were making the holes in the beads, I can then hollow them out a little bit more, and they fit rather nicely over the pigtail part of the hair. And with the accessories all done for Maomao's wig, we are now done with this piece, and here is how it turned out.